Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms. These are Charter Moms Chats, and we are in the thick of enrollment season, and we're featuring one of the many schools that started open enrollment on November 1st, which was just the other day. So today we're featuring Legacy Traditional Schools Texas, and our guest is the superintendent of Legacy Traditional Schools Texas, Dr. Mechiel Rozas. So Mechiel, thank you so much for joining me on Charter Moms Chats.
Well, thank you, Inga. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
So for folks who have not heard of Legacy Traditional Schools, which they've been around for years in Arizona and other states, but they're fairly new in Texas. So can you explain kind of the mission and vision? Like, what's the big picture?
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned, Legacy Traditional Schools got started in Arizona by a mom and a dad who were looking for a great educational opportunity for their children. And now, many years later, I think well over 26 years later, they're a very large system inside of Arizona, and then expanded to Nevada and now in Texas. And so I'm incredibly blessed to be the proud superintendent of Legacy Traditional Schools here in Texas. Our mission is pretty simple. We want to make sure we're providing a learning culture where all students are really thriving and excelling. We use innovative and adaptive 21st century skills using research-based and data-driven methods. Our goal is that when students graduate, every door of opportunity is open to them and that they're prepared for the future that lies ahead of them.
That's awesome. And I'm glad that you shared that, in that capsule, but I'm also excited to dig in a little deeper and talk about what that means. And I know for myself, being able to visit campuses has really helped me bring that to life. And I encourage every family to look into taking a tour, visiting the campus. But we'll get to that. We'll talk towards the end. We'll talk about like the how-tos, like the practical steps. But
Yeah.
okay, so Mechiel has shared like the mission vision. The next thing I want to ask about is about academics, because I think that's one of the real differentiators at Legacy is the really strong academics and how it builds a foundation for students.
Absolutely. We are a traditional school, like it says in our name. We believe that all great instruction comes, the first instruction when you're learning something brand new, it comes from the teacher. So when you go into classrooms, you will traditionally see classes starting and ending with desks and rows. We have a strong structure in the kinds of instructional things you will see in a classroom. I get the opportunity to take tours with families and different people who are visiting our campuses. And so many times I will point out that you can see, what students are learning. Their objective is posted on the board, written in kid-friendly language. So students know exactly what they're learning, why they're learning it. We see student work is celebrated. We have several bulletin boards with that up. There are just some unique features. This year, a big focus for us in Texas is that we've added a social emotional objective and a English language objective to every classroom as an expectation, as well as those four core, the ELA, math, science, and social studies. We really provide a well-rounded education for our students pre-K 3 all the way to 12th grade. I think that's unique about us in that we do have a high school. We have before and after school options as well, because we recognize that, like Inga and myself, working moms, many times our families need a safe place where children can be, and that includes opportunities for them to finish their homework and do the things that they need to do, get the support that they need at school.
Yeah, thank you. That's interesting to know about the how it changes a little bit over time. So you're at like the social emotional aspect, but giving kids that really strong foundation, like that's so important, because that'll give them so many more choices. Even, well, I guess so in other states, Legacy Traditional Schools is pre-K through 8th, but in San Antonio it's unique to have a high school. So I guess are there any distinctive features about the academics at the high school?
Yeah, I think that we are unique in our system at Legacy Traditional Schools. We are the only high school of our three states. And I think when you're looking at all charter schools across San Antonio, we're unique. It's very rare to find a high school system. And I think one of the features about our high school, we have arts, extracurricular activities, and sports at every one of our campuses. But one of the unique things about our high school campus, which is in town on the Bassey Road location, is that we have UIL football. And we know in Texas, many times football is a big draw for students and families alike. And so we offer those UIL sports, which is very unique within a charter system. So we offer a very wide array. Sometimes when you see in small systems, charter systems, they are limited. We all are limited in what we can offer, but we have a very robust program for athletics and for arts within our program.
Yeah, I remember when I got to visit the Cibolo campus at the ribbon cutting, I got to tour the different rooms, and I was so impressed with the music room because there's just like rows of keyboards and lots of instruments. And anybody who goes to so in the description of the video, there's a link to the enrollment guide blog post on sachartermoms.com. It's also on top of the blog today, and that has a picture of the music room that I saw on that tour day. But it's again, I encourage families to go visit a campus. Y'all have made so many improvements at the campuses as well, because it really takes having those like athletic fields and having music rooms and big cafeterias, multi-purpose rooms with stages that really allows those arts, extracurriculars, and sports to come to life.
Absolutely. We have a piano lab in every one of our buildings. And one of the unique features of Legacy Traditional Schools in Texas is that starting in third grade, students look at two different programs. One is Mozart and one is Momentum. So Mozart is obviously a very musically focused program, and Momentum is more physical activity. And that determines the number of specials they have within that field. So if I'm very into athletics, then I would receive more specials classes in the field of athletics. I'm looking at every aspect of being an athlete. Whereas if you were more musically inclined, then you would be taking more music classes. We both would get both, but the volume of specials across a week is unique. And then as you move into junior high, you begin to have more of the special courses where you're taking Spanish and you're taking computers, and you're taking all the things. So we have a full and robust computer lab for all of our students. We have piano lab. Students learn how to play the piano. And many times if students are really into music, they may play other instruments as well. And we have performances throughout the year. We also have other programs like you would expect to see in a traditional school, but maybe not as much in a charter system. We have GT programs. We have English language acquisition programs for students who are acquiring English. But we also, like I said, have Spanish language classes for all students. We have robust special education and 504 services for students who need them. We have a large library at every site where students can check out current books that are fantastic. I'm a big reader and a big fan of that, obviously. So we really do have a lot of programs and supports that you wouldn't traditionally see in a smaller charter system.
Yeah, really, these are questions that come up a lot in our discussion group on Facebook. So this is my chance to plug it. Anybody's watching, if you're not a member yet of the discussion group, just search San Antonio Charter Moms discussion. But I mean, you've mentioned a lot of things that come up in questions. Like maybe there are more schools that have after school care, but not as many that have before school care. But so some parents need to be at their jobs really early, and they want to make sure that their kids are safe and looked after. You mentioned about UIL sports, right? A lot of charter schools don't have tackle football. They might have flag football, or they might have like 6-man, but having a robust football program. And it's not just football. There's lots of other sports, and it really helps kids be engaged with school. They build those friendship skills. They build sportsmanship. They get the physical activity. So there's a lot of benefits to that, right? And you talked about music. Yeah, things like not all charter schools offer GT. Some just don't differentiate, right? I mean, they all have to accept students regardless of special needs or English language learners. But the charter schools vary in terms of how much resources they put into that, right? How strong is their commitment to serving every student? And that's something I believe in really strongly.
Absolutely. It's not easy work, but it's amazing work, and it's work we love to do. To athletics at every one of our campuses, we have girls volleyball, we have cross country for boys and girls, flag football, basketball for girls and boys. And, if you're a mom right now and you're watching, a great way to find out about any district you're interested in is start following them on Facebook and on Twitter and on Instagram. And as superintendent, obviously, I look at every one of our pages when I have a few down moments and I'm waiting somewhere. And our sports program is pretty phenomenal. We're consistently being recognized within our field. You mentioned at Cibolo. At Cibolo and Alamo, we have baseball and softball, in addition to the ones I listed. At Basse Primary, which is our pre-K 3 to 5 in town, we have track and field. Those are our elementary kids, and then, like I said, at Basse Secondary, we have UIL football, which is pretty amazing. And there's so many benefits to that. My son, who we were talking earlier, he's in college right now. But he had a choice. He could have played football in a large high school. He thought that's where he was headed, but he ended up at a smaller high school and he got a lot more attention, a lot more playing time. And so there are benefits when you're in a charter system. We really are trying to personalize at Legacy Traditional Schools for every single child. And I think we're doing a good job of it. We're really looking at children. If you making sure we're identifying our gifted children, making sure we're providing every resource that they need, whether it's an official label like GT or 504, or it's something that maybe doesn't carry a label. We want to know what your interests are. And I think that music and momentum, like you mentioned, really does lend itself to that, really getting to know kids and really letting them shine. Our high school program is a smaller high school, and those kids, when they graduate, I've had the opportunity now to see 2 senior classes. They're a very tight knit group of people because they have traveled together, and they have that close relationship, not only among themselves, but also with the teachers that are teaching them every day.
Yeah, yeah, that's a special part of the culture. And so one thing I want to ask about is that so like school leadership is really important for building that sense of teamwork and that culture. And so I was wondering, could you talk about like what are some of the strengths and some of the special things about the current group of school leaders at Legacy Traditional Schools in San Antonio?
I would love to do that. I could talk about our leaders all day long. I first want to say that if you're a person who just really enjoys looking at research, we all know it's generally accepted that the number one most important thing in a school is the teacher, the quality of teacher. But what's not often talked about is the number two most important element is the principal. And so for that reason, I feel incredibly blessed because I actually have some of the most amazing leaders in the city of San Antonio. Actually 3 of my principals worked at Legacy Traditional Schools in Arizona. So they bring with them that systemic knowledge of what a Legacy Traditional School needs to look like. Eddie Woods is at our brand new campus at Alamo Ranch out on our northwest side of San Antonio. It's a brand new building this year, and it's just been a phenomenal opening. With phenomenal students. We have over 600 students on day one, pre-K all the way to 8th grade students starting that building, and it's been just amazing. And then we have Chris Turner is out at our Cibolo campus in the northeast side in Cibolo, and it's year 2 for the Cibolo campus, and he comes from Arizona. And then inside the 410 on the Basse Road campus, Basse Primary, Molly Stumpo also served in Arizona as well. So it's just been amazing. And then our final principal, her name is Miss Travis, Yvonne Travis, and she runs Basse Secondary, which is our junior high and high school. And so 4 leaders plus me, we have a very strong group. We get together once a month. I'm with them every single week one-on-one, and I get to visit their campuses and work alongside them. So we're really all in the work and making sure we're creating those great environments that are first safe for every single person, the students and the children, the teachers alike. And then secondly, providing a really rigorous and world-class education for our kids.
So you mentioned about school safety. That's another like hot topic, comes up in the group a lot. And families are, I mean, there's been a rise in like threats or incidents at schools. So, and before we got the camera rolling, you were telling me about like some of the upgrades that have happened at legacy campuses to make the campuses more safe. So I was wondering if you could share some of those.
Absolutely. I think that every superintendent, every school, obviously we want our schools to be safe. And I think that that's work that we all as superintendents have been engaged in over the last year and a half. We work very closely with Texas State, which is the Texas Safety Center. But I'm extremely proud of our safety plans. We have an armed security guard at every single campus this year. We were an early adopter, and we have evaluated every one of our campuses. We have door checks every single week. I just met with my safety officer this morning to go over door audits to go over drills that we have. We have an upgraded drill system. We've already installed this year. We had a safety grant. Vape detectors. We know amongst our junior high and high school kids, that's very tempting. We know it's not regulated and it's not safe for our kids. So we want to make sure that if a student is using it, that we can address it right away, and make sure that we get kids on a healthy path. We will be looking at finalizing all of our cameras. We're going to upgrade more cameras, and then also bullet resistant film on the campuses that have a large amount of mirror windows at the front. So I'm very proud of our safety plans, and we'll continue to work at it because the work is never complete.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's really important. The physical changes are important, but also the fact that you're in communication with your team, you're reviewing the procedures, because it takes both, right? It takes improvements, but also takes vigilance, and the people who care. Like that's
Absolutely.
the thing you can't do without. Yeah, yeah. Well, so while we're talking about, I know that I drive by Bassie all the time because that's one of my shortcuts through Central San Antonio. So I have seen a massive transformation, at least from the
Yeah.
outside of the campus. I haven't been inside for a while, but like, what are some of the upgrades? I know that Cibolo and Alamo, those are new builds. So and I mean, I haven't been inside Alamo Ranch yet, but Cibolo is just gorgeous campus. I mean, it has huge curb appeal, but what are some of the improvements at the Bassie campus?
Yeah, I would love to talk that. You're absolutely right. Cibolo has great curb appeal, and families, when you go to visit, you're going to come up off of Cibolo Valley Drive, and it's at the top of a rise, so it just kind of gives you that feeling because it's a very stately building. And then Alamo Ranch is a little bit different. You turn off of the road and you see it right there, and it does have a presence. At our Bassie Road, it was an existing building and it needed a lot of renovations, and we started doing that work. And that was a very wonderful experience this summer because there was a lot of gating when you're doing construction, trying to keep everybody safe. But it just felt like it was overnight. All the gating went down, all the work was complete, and we've done significant. We tore down some buildings that were no longer, of good use to us. We have included some new playground areas. We have gorgeous spaces for kids to be in. Today, I was walking and visiting some classrooms in Bassie Primary, and inside that area, we have a green space that's absolutely gorgeous. And the assistant principal was sitting out there having conversations with teachers as they walk by. She was doing work, but in a green space. You don't typically see that in Texas because it's so darn hot the majority of the time. But even in the front in the mornings, our junior high and high school kids are playing basketball and soccer, and we have these very large play spaces where they can do that. We did some renovation in our junior high and high school areas as well. It really feels state of the art and very, very modern. And we increased our enrollment significantly because as the neighborhood saw how Legacy was investing in the community, they knew. And the sweetest thing, the first week a parent came over and said, "We heard you're nice to families and you're nice to kids." And so we've been really glad to welcome. And we encourage families to come and take tours so they can see the changes that have taken place.
Yeah. Well, and part of it too is creating spaces so that the traditions of like the flag ceremony, right, and like having places for that. So, can you talk about some of those like sort of culture elements about legacy traditional schools that the Texas schools are now embracing?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that's unique about us is that we do have flag ceremony every single day. We have spaces that are designated for that outside. If it's too cold or it's rainy, obviously we have a plan B, C, and D of all the places we can go. But we get together every morning. We pledge allegiance to the American flag and the Texas flag. We have a moment of silence. We usually have some celebrations. We're focused on attendance, making sure our kids are prompt and with us every day. So today I was going over attendance with one of our principals. And so looking at those daily, weekly, and monthly celebrations. So we usually give shout outs for things like that. And then we have other traditions within our building. We're a very patriotic organization. On November 9th is our annual Veterans Day breakfast. We have that every year at every single school. You could fly to Arizona, Nevada, Texas. We will all be doing it. It's an important event where we can honor local heroes. We can honor all of the people who have served and instill a sense of civic responsibility. We want to build an environment where our kids have respect for service and community service. And so honoring veterans and our first responders is a big part of our culture.
And it's well, you mentioned earlier that following on social media is a great. It's a great way to find out what's happening on campus. And I was looking at the social media accounts, and I saw that on September 11th there was an observance like welcoming first responders. So again, that sense of civic awareness, gratitude towards people who dedicate their careers to service, and reinforcing patriotism among the students.
And San Antonio is Military USA. So although you can see our ceremonies in November and in September at any legacy schools, it really has a much deeper heart feel. As I attended at Cibolo last year, I was here at Basse on 9/11, and I will be at Alamo Ranch for our event on the 9th. It just is a separate feeling when you have so many members of the military in your community and you have so many people who've been involved in that work. It really does make a huge difference. And I feel very blessed and honored to be able to work alongside so many amazing families, community members, and our staff as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So we've talked about like the flag ceremony, and you shared great stories like about like what kind of sports and extracurriculars kids can participate in. But are there any more like like stories that you feel like would demonstrate the culture of legacy, things like that?
I just think that all of our kids, it doesn't matter which campus you go to. I always think about the kids first. And I just feel like we have the best kids. And it doesn't matter. Today I was in a pre-K classroom observing a class, and I ended up working with a group of students, and there was just the most delightful little girl. We were talking about the letter J, and she was just so precious. And then I really enjoy being around our junior high and high school kids, even though we know junior high kids can be a little challenging at times. They're trying on different personalities every 10 minutes, and the high school kids as well. I love that we are pre-K to high school because students get to all be together. It has such a familial feel, and I really feel like the culture and climate that we build in our buildings is so important. And there's a sense of respect and a sense of family among all of us together. And knowing that when families make the choice to come to legacy traditional schools, they're making a choice. It's a consumer choice. And so they're as invested as well. So knowing that our families have made that very intentional choice really does lend itself. And so that's what I think of most, that I most love about legacy, is our kids and the relationship and rapport they have with one another, and the relationship and the sense of community they build with our staff.
Yeah, well, I can tell you're hands-on with your leadership, because you talk about you talk so warmly about your school leaders, and you interact with them, and also you're in classrooms, and that you talked about having campus leaders who have also worked at more longer established legacy campuses, and so this is a way to carry that culture forward. And then how it's reflected is parents saying things like, well, we heard that kids are happy here. We heard that you're nice to families. And, that kind of word of mouth is really important. And I think that the proof is in, right? Like you mentioned that the enrollment has grown so dramatically at the Basse campus. And that's a sign that things are working, and the community is noticing what changes are happening at Legacy.
Absolutely. We're always going to be working at it. We're not going to rest until things are perfect, and things are never perfect. So we'll never stop working at it, but we're very determined. And I am a bit of a rare unicorn in that I really understand instruction pre-K to high school. And so I'm very passionate about it. And it's not just managing a business. We're dealing with supporting all of our children of our community. And so we all take it very seriously, and we're all invested in the work. And we want to make sure that every child is, like I said, every door of opportunity is open to them, but we think of them as if they're our own children. So we want to make sure that they're successful.
Yeah, well, that's great. Okay, well, I want to make sure that we give families like the nuts and bolts information. Okay, so, and this is where I get to play with my banners, right? So, so like the website is really important, right? So it's for anyone listening on the podcast, it's texas.legacytraditional.org. And so what kind of things can they find on the website, and then how can they get the application in?
Yes, that's such a great question. So I love that our website is easy to remember because sometimes we will all see very complicated ones. It is texaslegacytraditional.org. And in that website, it's very robust. You will find everything that you need. One of the things you'll likely see when you get on the website, we usually have some flash up banners. We want to let you know what's up and coming. So you'll likely see that on November the 15th at 5:30, we're going to have a family night. And what family night is an invitation of all families. Obviously, our existing families are invited, but new families, it's an opportunity for them to get a tour of the campus, to meet campus leadership, to meet some of the teachers, hopefully have a snack, ask any questions that you have, and get to know a little bit more about our campuses. You can see early enrollment because our enrollment window has already opened. Our lottery will be on January the 11th, and space is limited. So you can find out all the information that you need. We have an electronic application program, very easy to navigate. So you can find that there as well as contacts. If you have any questions that you need answered, phone numbers are there and somebody will be with you right away.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's really important. Like, as again, I was talking about before we got on the air, but like the team at Legacy are so responsive, and like we work with a lot of different schools, and you guys are really in a class by yourselves in terms of
Thanks.
engaging with the community and being responsive to us. And I that's got to reflect in how you treat families as well, because it's how you every interaction we've had. And yeah, like the website is very clear, very easy to navigate. And that family night, it pops up right away, and then there's there's a button on the top to apply, but you can also just type in the website and then /enroll, and then that takes you to the application. And for any families who are worried or maybe like have done like college applications, it's not like that. It's not like a college application. It's really just some basic demographic information. There's no fee to apply. And it's just enough. Like you just take just a few minutes and fill it out, and families can apply to multiple schools. And then as the lotteries happen, then you can weigh in your options. You can keep doing research. So you can go ahead and do the application, and then go to family info night, or call the school and get your questions answered. Like find out like how early is the earliest drop off, right? Or ask questions in the Charter Moms discussion group, because there's current Legacy families in that group who love the school and are ready to be the promoter about Legacy.
Well, and Inga, just so y'all know that are watching, she's not saying that just because she wants to be nice on the screen. She did say that earlier before we were on the recording. That means a lot that you're saying we're responsive, because every one of us has been sick at one time, and we go into the pharmacy or the doctor and they're not so nice, and you're just like, this is terrible customer service, right? We've all been at a restaurant, whatever. And I am a huge consumer of that, and it's very important to all of us that you receive fantastic service and have a great experience. We're here to serve our community. We're serving our families and our children, and we want to make sure that we do that really well. So being responsive to the needs of our community, being responsive to our new families is of the utmost importance. And so it's not uncommon. I was at Cibolo one day, and the principal I knew needed to be somewhere, and I took over a tour, and I had to say, hi, I'm the superintendent, and I'll be taking over your tour. We're all in, and we're going to make sure that parents get exactly what they need. And if somebody doesn't have what you need, they're going to get it for you. We have an electronic application program, but we've had parents who didn't have the literacy skills they needed in order to fill out the form, or had some technology difficulties. We have a paper and pencil option for you. So we will make it happen, whatever we need. We want to make sure that we are, again, serving our families.
Yeah. And I also want to plug the Legacy Traditional Schools is participating in all of our School Discovery Day events this season. So yes. The second event is coming up this Saturday. We're going to be at Confluence Park, which is just south of downtown, but we have more events in 2024. So, and we're really grateful for Legacy, being a part of that, because your team always brings, a positive energy and lots of goodies to give away, and adds to the spirit of the event.
Yeah, well, thank you for those events, because it really does allow our families to see what their options are and get to know and have some FaceTime, because we both know I have plenty of friends in the last year who say, I'm still confused about what charters are, what they're not. We get those questions all the time. So, being that friendly and approachable face and being able to answer questions, whether it's about what is a charter, or, your start time in the morning or after school care, we want to make sure we're there to answer those questions.
Yeah, yeah. So like the legacy team is there. Like, so we have 30 schools at Confluence Park. So that's
Oh,
going to
that's
be, it's our biggest event so far. Yeah, we're a little nervous, but it's going to be special. And then at our SA Charter Moms table, we have like I'll be there and our team, and we can answer those questions about like how applications work, and like how do you find the school that's the right fit for your kids. And the good thing about legacy is that it answers a lot of needs, right? So if there's a kid who needs a lot of movement or needs more fine arts, or needs GT or needs special support, like those are built in, and families don't have to feel like they're giving those things up just by choosing a charter school.
Absolutely. We're very proud also of our academic growth. We had a 20% increase in ELA and a 19% increase in math in a time where most schools are struggling because of, coming out of COVID. We had tremendous growth last year, and that's only going to increase. We're very passionate about making sure the kids have the skill, knowledge, and abilities as they leave us to make every choice out there. So we provide a great environment. We do have that well-rounded education, which includes music, the arts, athletics, all of those things. And we're constantly making sure that we not only have what families are needing, but it's done really well. So we're proud of that work.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, Mechiel, it's been great talking to you. I'm going to put the website address on the screen one more time for folks. So it's texas.legacytraditional.org. That's a great starting point. It's got phone numbers for the campuses, and the link to apply, and just, it's a well-organized website, so you can get a lot there. And of course, we have the enrollment guide blog post that we just updated at shchartermoms.com. So Mechiel, it's been great talking to you. Thank you for all the updates about legacy, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Inga. It's always a pleasure.
All right. Take care.